few dogs on the field, touchdown on the first down. Dropping news like reporters from the sideline. Going live, yeah, it's about to be grand time.
Welcome to the Two Dog Sports Talk Show. We doing our football roundup, and we have today Coach Montgomery of the Bixby Spartans. What's going on, Coach?
Hey, it's great to have you out at our facility today.
I appreciate you having us. Let's go and get started. Coach, 8 gold balls. You haven't lost in 8 years. What is it like?
Well, first off, we have lost. Just not that last game, which I guess some people would say is an important one. But no, just thankful and grateful for the opportunities that we've had here at Bixby. We've been fortunate. We've had great kids. We've got a great administration that will do the things that we need to be successful. And then we've had a really good run of continuity among our assistant coaches. Our defensive coordinator, Rodney Flowers, has been with us for 15 years. Our offensive coordinator is going on his 16th year. So, and a lot of other coaches that have been around here a long time.
Now, last year you had some wins that was just so lopsided. And we was talking earlier about in football, it's not like basketball. It's hard to call off the dogs. How do you handle it with your players?
Well, it's always a challenge. We had a very talented team last year, a lot of returning starters, and we were fortunate enough to have big leads early in games a lot of times. And those guys are competitors. They want to play, and they want to play every snap. And we want to get at least a half out of them from a conditioning aspect, from a rep standpoint, and so. Ideally, you get your starters through half, and then you sub out some of your key guys, maybe your superstars, things like that, and let some of your younger guys that need more reps get reps. But I think each game's just a little bit different. Obviously we had a couple that got out of hand early last year where we had a couple of pick sixes, punt return, those sort of things that, we really had to call off the dogs probably earlier than we would like to. But just blessed to be in that situation where you do have a talented team and those guys understand. But it's a challenging deal. It's a challenging deal sometimes because guys also want to get stats.
What do you have to do to try to keep the players motivated, even though they see the gold balls, they see all that, but it's a new season? How do you keep them motivated to say, okay, we got to go out and put in the work? We can't go off the laurels and the morals of last year.
Yeah, each season is a little different. Last season we had a veteran group that we had to really challenge with, complex game plans, things like that, to keep them dialed in practice. This year is a little bit different. We're going to have 17 new starters this year, and so I think we're going to have to breathe confidence into our guys. We're going to have to let them know that even though they're all new and trying to figure out what's going on, they're still Bixby and they have a target on their back.
How do you instill that in them to let them know you got that target on your back? Because you have to have buy-in. What do you do to get that buy-in to let them know? Is it running? Is it loafing? The first time you see them loafing, you get into them? What is it?
Well, I think, there's a standard around here in the way we're supposed to play. We have our core values. You see them on the wall back there: discipline, integrity, selfless, consistent. And those are the things that we talk about each day, and we film every rep of practice. And we watch every rep of practice. So if something isn't up to our standard, or maybe a guy isn't giving out the effort that he needs to, we're going to call it out. And then also try to create competition at those positions, so those guys do have to be at their best.
Now, I know when you talk about your core values, we had Nate on the show, and you can see it. Because he instilled those core values that you all preach, and we asked him about it, and that was one of the things he talked about is the core values. My son went to Guts, and one of the players accepted Christ that day, and the whole team came and supported him and backed him up. And it was like, okay, we see why they like they are. Is that some of the things that you stress to your players?
Well, we're going to talk about it each day. And for instance, today's Monday, so we talk about discipline. And what does discipline look like for you as a football player? What does discipline look like for you as a student? And what does discipline look like for you in the other 21 hours that you're not with us? So we would expect Nate Hobbs, who's a great kid that came to visit with you, if he stops at Quick Trip after he visits with you and he finds somebody's wallet on the ground the other 21 hours to turn that in. We would expect him to hold the door open for folks. We would expect him to show respect to other people. And so I think just like anything else, it's the reason people go to church every Sunday and get the same messages over and over and over. You have to continue to recite those. You have to continue to give examples. And then even with all of that, we're dealing with 16, 17, 18-year-old boys, so it doesn't always look perfect, you know. So I think, you know, when it doesn't look perfect, you know, we're going to have conversations. We're going to discuss how you might be able to redirect and do better next time.
Now we talked about that you have over 300 players from 8th grade, 9th grade on to high school. How do you facilitate that as a coach?
Well, I think the big thing is, and you see those guys out there working. It's our first week of practice, but also coaches' work week, where you hire a bunch of guys that take their job seriously, take their role as a mentor to young people seriously, and are self-starters. And we're very fortunate to have a coaching staff that pours into the children and develops relationships with them and those things, so that if something isn't right, you know, they know. And we're not always perfect. Kids will slip through the cracks sometimes, but I think coaches that are constantly trying to get to know their players and develop relationships, that way if something isn't right, they know.
And that's one thing that Nate was saying. He was saying that they spend time with each other. They spend quality time with each other. Is that the same way it is with your coaching staff?
Yeah, and you know, when you take on a job as a football coach, starting from this point forward until hopefully December 5th or whenever it is, we're up here 7 days a week working together. And so it's like a family, you know. You got to like each other. Doesn't mean you always have to agree, but we have to disagree respectfully and respect one another and get to know one another. And so I think we've got a great coaching staff. We got guys that enjoy spending time with one another outside of the facility, and I think that's indicative of a staff that's close.
Now, besides being young this year, what is the other difference between last year's championship team and this year?
Well, I think last year's championship team, this is just one example. There's a lot of differences, but we had returners at almost every skill position and really talented Division I type skill guys. This year's team, I think we've got talented guys, but we've got young guys who may potentially be Division I guys, and then we've got some old guys that are just going to be really good high school football players. And you know, come December 5th or whatever, it may be the last time they strap it on. And so it's a different look, but it's also a look, you know, where you can be successful.
Now, how do you navigate that? Because you say you got young guys, you have some veterans. How do you navigate that as far as a team?
Well, you know, so first off, those veterans have played a lot of snaps for us. We play, you know, in 8th grade, we play 3 8th grade schedules, 3 9th grade schedules, and then we play 2 JV games every Monday night. And then, like you mentioned, last year we had big leads in the first half of games, and so a lot of our younger guys got to play a ton. And so it's always those guys' job, and I don't know how to put this politically correct, but we always give the seniors the opportunity to lose the job. You know, so if they've worked hard, if they've earned it, going into the off season, if they appear to be the best player, we're going to find out. You know, and if they swim, great. That's what we want them to do. And if a young guy comes in and performs well, we're going to play the best guys.
So basically, you're saying it's competitive. As a senior, it's your job. If you've been committed all these years, it's your job. You got to keep it.
Yeah, and nothing is guaranteed, you know. And when I was young and in our early years in Bixby, parents might come in and say, "Well, he's a senior. He's done everything right. He deserves to start." Well, he's done everything right, but at the end of the day, he's got to be the best player. He's got to be the guy to produce. And you know, that's one of my most proud moments as a coach when we have that senior guy. We had 2 of them on our offensive line last year that had never started before, and it was their first year to be starters, and they were great. It meant the world to them. And so when they got that opportunity, if they got a sprained ankle or a hangnail or a sore finger, they weren't leaving the game or leaving the lineup because that was their spot, and they didn't want to give anyone else an opportunity to take that spot.
Now, what is that pressure when you have someone that's first time they're stepping on the field? Is it immediately you mess up, you gone? Or you understand as a coach that this is his first time it's a lot of, let's be honest, it's pressure playing here at Bixby.
Yeah.
And when you step on that field, everybody expects you to perform. How do you handle that? And you know what they can do. You just might know that it's just nerves.
Yeah, well, that's why we video every rep in practice. That's why we do host our own team camp, 3 days of team camp. That's why we do 7-on-7 tournaments and passing leagues. And we try to give those guys as many competitive repetitions as possible to screw up on the run, and that way then we can come back and coach them and give them an opportunity. And so football is a game of repetitions, and so we try to create as many repetitions as we can before we actually get to the season.
Now, this year you're young, but they still have you at number one. But 6A1 on this side, I think, is probably the most talented it's been in a while at every school.
Mm-hmm.
How do you combat that with your players and let them know, hey, just because you won by 30 last year against this team, oh, they're a different team this year?
Well, I think we've seen it, over the summer at team camps and those sort of things. They see how talented everyone is. And so for the most part, I think our guys understand that they're going to have to be at their best in order to win. We're going to have to find ways in the margins to win. Those little things that might not win you a game, but might win you a game, whether it's whether it's making sure we line up correctly or our splits are correct, or we eliminate procedure penalties, just all those little things that add up to wins, and letting our guys know that because we have smart young men, and I think they see that everyone around us is talented. They know what players are coming back from last year's roster, and they know that they're going to have to get it on. I hope they know that they're going to have to get it on.
Where are you strongest at? Is a D-line, offensive line, trenches, secondary? Where are you strongest at?
Well, I think probably if you look at our team, our most experienced bunch coming back is going to be our offensive line. We've got Caden Penny will be a 3-year starter at offensive tackle. Gavin Wilson started every game last year as a sophomore. We'll be back at right tackle, and then we've got Jackson Dorsey, a senior who played a lot of reps last year. So that's going to be a strong suit. And then our linebacking core, we've got some really talented guys. Kane Brackney is committed to Indiana, who's been great. Ben Puckett, he's the third of the Pucketts who have been starters here at Bixby. He's committed to Montana State University. And then Nate Hobbs, an outside linebacker who you visited with, is a 3-year starter. And then kind of curious to see Jack Gill started several games at outside linebacker. So we got a plethora of guys that are also going to be really good players there. So if we had to look at strengths, probably the offensive line and then linebacking core.
How difficult is it to not go to the next level?
Not go to the next level, meaning?
Leaving high school, going to college.
Well, we see players with all different goals. Last year we were fortunate enough to have 5 Division I players, and we had a guy go to Texas Tech, 2 go to West Virginia, 1 go to Oklahoma State, 1 go to Louisiana, Alabama Birmingham, UAB. But and then we had 8 others signed to play at smaller universities, and so where we're at now and the places that come in and recruit us, if a guy can start at the high school level and wants to play, we're going to find you a spot. And then we have other guys that say, you know what, Coach, I love playing, I love high school ball, but I'm ready to kind of shift gears and go on and work on my career as in a business administration or accounting or whatever. Hey, more power to you, because in order to play at the next level, you've got to love it, and you got to be willing to grind for about the next 5 years.
Now, how difficult is it for you to not go to the next level?
Oh, well, right now it's not that difficult at all because I see those guys coming in here in the office recruiting all the time and they're just miserable, worried about players leaving. This year was better with one portal window, but we've had guys sitting right here where you are in here, look down to get a text, and they're like, oh my gosh, I just lost 2 defensive linemen to the portal. I've got to take off and go to Coffeyville Junior College and see what they got. And it's just a crazy world right now in college sports and the way the movement, those sort of things. And I think it's good for the players. Players now have an opportunity to make life-changing money. But I don't know that just the lack of regulations is real good for the game. I think early on, the level of football that we're seeing is a little closer to maybe junior college football than what we're used to seeing in the Power 5 level.
Now, speaking of portals, give me the good and the bad of the transfer portal on the high school level.
Well, I think, I look at guys that maybe are at a program that doesn't have the resources, meaning they can't hire highly qualified coaches. They don't have strength and conditioning programs. Maybe they're wanting to play, better competition, or maybe a guy that, wants to move down and needs to play lesser competition. And so I think it provides some opportunities for those guys. And we've been fortunate here to have some guys move here that will really help us because they're looking for a program that's great at developing them and getting them ready for the next level. I would say the negatives is that you really don't know who's going to be around a lot of times until after that July 15th or 20th date that's a cutoff. And so just kind of understanding your roster. And we talked about it a little while ago in a staff meeting. The best thing that we can do is develop relationships with our players, provide experiences here, whether it be our team dinners, our position dinners, our night of champions, our steak eaters, our Club 225, our development program that we have, our Team 21 stuff. The players don't want to leave here. They want to be here. So that's what we try to do as a staff, make it as super hard to leave here because you love being here, you love your coaches, you love your teammates.
How far away do you think we are at the high school level of hiring recruiters like you do on the college level to recruit athletes? You got the transfer portal, you have NIL. How far away do you think we're from that?
Well, I'm not so sure, just to be frank, that that isn't happening a little bit already. We've seen it in some of the other states where, like for instance, Texas, the UIL has suspended coaches, on certain staffs for going out and actively recruiting, other players to come to their program. I think it will happen and it'll go on here if there are no consequences. I think when when someone is exposed for breaking the rules, because recruiting players is against the rules in the OSSAA, but anytime there are rules, they have to be enforced. And so I think things like that probably do go on. I think things like that will go on if those rules aren't enforced.
Do you eventually think that the question I was asked, do you eventually think that we're going to get to that at the high school level where it's going to become legal, where you can do it because of everything that's trying to go to mirroring of the college level?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think as long as there's state associations like the OSSAA or UIL, I think the membership will probably vote against any kind of rules that would allow things like that, because I think state organizations try to protect the spirit of high school sports and high school football, but I don't know. It's it changes every year, and I think what we've seen at the college level trickles down to the high school level.
So I never thought, of all my years, I never really thought that you would have players a transfer portal where they're able to transfer to a school without any punishment,
Yeah.
or even get paid at the high school level.
Yeah.
I've never, in my wildest dreams, ever thought that.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't shock me if it happened. Nowadays, nothing don't shock me.
Right. It's crazy. Just a few years ago, all those guys that played for Jim Tressel at Ohio State, got in all kinds of trouble for getting paid to sign autographs. Well, now. I mean, that's the least of the worries, and so. In that regard, I think some of the things that have happened have been really good for the players. Like I think players should be able to go do a car commercial and get paid if a business wants to pay for their name, image, likeness, true name, image, likeness. I think if you're signing autographs and a baseball card shop wants to pay, you should by all means get that. If you do a commercial or you're influencing on social media for products, I mean, I think that's great. I think they're trying to get a handle on that at the NCAA level, but the genie's kind of out of the bottle. You know?
Yeah, because like I said, it's so with social media. And in high school, you have young men got cameras following them in the hallways and on the field. It is so much that you can do. It's hard to really try to stop it now because it's done.
It is, and I think to a certain extent, organizations, whether it's the NCAA or the OSSA, sometimes don't know where to start because there's so much stuff.
Yeah. Well, good luck, Coach. We appreciate you having us out.
Yeah.
Hey, go win number 9.
Hey, we would love to, and we're going to take it one game at a time and see what can happen.
All right. All right, you're on $2 Sports Talk Show. We had Coach Montgomery. We'll be right back. Peace.
2 dogs on the field, touchdown on the first sound. Last season, hype crowd screaming, what now? Too long gone, but never gon' punt now. Enemy blessing, but we ain't gon' shut down.